So we're going to reveal it right now because the deck list is ready for your viewing pleasure and mine and Chalmers. What do we got? Regular Darius. Still good. And as you mentioned, still 3 Rally the Troops. Really dedicated to just make it. Oh, it is a baited hook. I got baited by myself.
You did get baited by yourself. But the cool thing with Rally the Troops is it does also work with the units that are entering play from baited hook. It's also a great thing with Hook and the Matron combo in particular.
Oh, yeah.
It's also something where if you are planning to, say, sacrifice a Ferris Forerunner, it would then buff the mech tokens entering play. There's just a lot of really cool interactions with this. The other inclusion that I'm a big fan of here is, of course, the Jinjiao, because this is something that energy to might is very efficient. It also allows you to have some really cool hook plays there as well.
Yeah, Sick Nasty with Vanguard Captain as well. Very easy to make this unit enter ready, and it is quite well statted for a 3 energy unit, which also, by the way, means you can get it back with Spectral Matron. The top end, as is with often the case with baited hook decks, is you want to get to 6 is usually the number. That will change in Unleashed, by the way, because there are some pretty attractive 7-mine order units in that set. But you can go all of the 6. You know, often that's things like Harness Dragon, but we don't need that here. We're just going straight to Ferris Forerunner, which, as we've discussed for a lot of the day, is maybe the best card in the format, if not one of the best.
Absolutely, and you're talking about the top end. You don't have to get that high.
Oh.
The beauty is Draven, specifically this Fury version with a base might of 3, can still represent as much as, you know, 8 or 9 might going into the late game off of a cheap activation of baited hook. So that is why you see the 3 copies of that included here. There are also some strategies where your late game revolves around Grand Stratagem. Of course, we see that 1 copy there. If you do happen to have a lot of units on the board, you can give them +5 for a double conquer turn. This also sometimes catches people off guard defensively as well, because it does have that action keyword on it, so you can play it in response to somebody initiating a showdown and then just wall up and say you're not going to get through.
Yeah, it costs quite a lot of power, so it makes sense why there's maybe only 1 copy, because it can be a bit expensive, although this deck is very order slanted as far as the rune split goes. A somewhat rare 8-4 split favoring order in that one. Nice. I like that you pointed out the Draven thing, though. Every single unit you can crack with baited hook, with the exception of a recruit token that doesn't have any other might, so maybe Warcamp, maybe a buff from Rally the Troops, means you can hit that unit pretty much at any time. And as you mentioned, it is a very inexpensive, pretty big unit in a lot of time. So enough about baited hook, Darius, which I'm very excited to see. Love to see baited hook on the stream. If you don't know, I am currently obsessed with this card. But Master Yi is also in this matchup because, of course, baited hook Darius does need a worthy opponent. And we'll take a look at the Master Yi deck list in just a moment. And it is going to be not Aurora once again. I don't think there's very many Aurora Yi players out there, but another take on mid-range Yi with another pretty big range of card choices here. I mean, we haven't seen Fiora, I don't think, today in main decks at least.
No, that is a little bit surprising. Another thing that's jumping out to me is 2 main deck Akshans, which says this might be a Yi player that was trying to play very wide against the field and just kind of have something in your pocket to answer any of these unexpected equipment choices, or if you run into Azirs or Lucians or what have you. 2 copies is good in the main deck, I guess.
Yeah, again, all the normal stuff, lots of pumps, lots of counter spells, some Aurelias, Trinity Force, which we didn't see in the last matchup, but is very good in these Yi lists, especially if you are going first and can play it on curve. So enough about this, we can have a look at the players themselves, because that game, I believe, is going to be ready very, very soon. So curious how this one's going to shake out, but there are still quite a few players in the hall, as you may be able to see. Round 7 is about 12 minutes through, and our feature match players are busy trying to see who is going to make day 2. Hopefully,
again, that target is X2.
X2.
To guarantee day 2. Obviously, if you can go XO, that's just going to increase your chances of not just making day 2, but converting into the ever-elusive top 8 situation.
We're jumping in.
And it is worth noting, both of our players are 6-0, which means they're actually locked for day 2. This is just for position in the standings, and you are correct. We are deep in this already.
Yeah, so a little late, but that's okay. 4-2 on points there. You player currently ahead. Guessing, actually, maybe based on runes, it's tough to say who did go first, but we won't worry about it for a second. There's an Aurelia in the base in the backline there for Staroson, and Zile has a lot of might at a battlefield, because Rally the Troops has happened. Don't be fooled. That is not double the number of recruit tokens. That is recruits with a bunch of buffs on them. Yeah,
they have hit the gym. Those recruits are swole. They are getting those gains, and they're using them to try to, again, hunker down on this Trifarian War Camp because that's also going to give an additional +1 to all of them. And I see some readying happening here. The big thing for Zile in this situation is now you've got this War Camp pretty well positioned, but you are still behind on points. So at some point you're going to have to find a way to take a battlefield away from your opponent to slow them down and kind of even it up. You jump to 3 from this hold, but that Stellacorn is still on the other side.
Yeah, Darius, of course, could get it done, but right now is actually going to trade with the Stellacorn, holding Forge of the Fluff in the bottom part of this game. So it does need to get buffed up by playing 2 cards. Not exactly Legion, although pretty close to the keyword that Darius basically is known for. And of course, Darius the Legend can make some energy if you have played another card this turn. So we're going to start by just going in for it. He's going to pump, and Zal says, yep, you're good. What do you want to do? Do you want to trade or do you want to do something else?
I was going to say, I think that this is them hand checking. There is the 1 rune open, and that 1 energy could represent something like an on guard. So I think Zile was fine with passing and saying, if this trades, fine, but I gain that information. Maybe I can play another unit with Accelerate and move over there. But if you have it and you try to protect it, then you waste it here. So I actually really liked kind of just hand-checking Staroson there.
It's actually so hyped that Darius can pay for your Beta Hook activation, and the seal that's already been played just makes it feel pretty free. That's such a nice little bit of deck building here that this version of Beta Hook does get to use. And of course, we've cracked a 1, and we're going to look for a 5, finding the only copy of Glass Mixologist in the main.
And it looks like that was going to then be played to the War Camp once again, reinforcing over there. It does have that important Death Knell on it where you can play a unit with no cost more than 3 and no more than 1 power from your trash. So again, often one of those things that allows you to chain units around if you want to activate Baited Hook on it the following turn. But for now, it's just going to help, again, kind of reinforce this War Camp. Doesn't look like there was any accelerated units available to Zile, so the trade with Darius might have also just been saying, I want to get rid of Stellacorn to prevent the card draw.
Yeah, I think a pretty deadly unit that you want to try and reduce the number of draws as best you can. And I was saying it's unfortunate that we can't break the Mixologist also to get Veteran Captain back from the bin and trigger its Legion effect of playing 2 recruits to wherever the Captain is. But you know what? Matron's good enough at doing that, just playing it from hand. Don't always have to find it with Baited Hook. And all of a sudden, I'm not going to do the math. That is an unbelievable amount of might in that top battlefield, which against 2 Aurelias, you are going to kind of need.
Yeah, you're going to need every inch of it. Again, the War Camp doing a lot of work here because it is so wide. And this is also, again, why Rally the Troops is such an integral part of these new Darius lists, whether they're Baited Hook or not, because with the Vanguard Captain, with the Matron, with the Mixologist, when you have all of these units where you're going to have other units enter play, those are just even more buffs. We have a bunch of buff recruit tokens already on the board. If you could have had a Rally the Troops on that other play, then you would have had 4 more buffs spread across and drawn a card. Turns out that's pretty good value, but for now, Staroson's just going to send that Lonely Poro onto the other side to continue getting those points.
Very lonely, but still good for points, and still ahead on points as well. Conquering both battlefields, it might be tricky, but perhaps you can try and hold one, but can't be too unhappy with how the point race is going so far as the finger taps begin in the air, as it's a lot of might to try and calculate. I suppose I can give it a go. 2, 4, 6. Oh no, 10, 15, 18, plus 5, 23. That's the base. How many units, Drama?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 7. I don't know.
20.
Somebody call a judge and get an abacus over here.
That's 25 then, if it is 7 units. And Akshan steals the Baited Hook. That's incredibly rude. Fortunately, I think, tough for you to use because you do actually have to make order power in order to activate it. But stealing it away from the deck who, its namesake card seems pretty good. And these main deck Akshans actually coming up trump here.
Yeah, and the really important thing here is unless there's another activator, maybe something like a Death Grasp or maybe a Hidden Blade, you're shutting down them purposefully triggering the Mixologist, right? We did see them go and find that, has the Death Knell. So if you take this Baited Hook, even if you can't activate it, you are slowing down your opponent in terms of what they want to do. We do have 1 Aurelia going in. and it's going to be targeted with the on guard, which is essentially +3 might because you get 1 for choosing and then the 2 from the text on guard itself.
So 458, I believe the number we said to beat is 25. So 1 Aurelia only going in here is it's quite something. We'll see if there's enough. Go again, +3 effectively. Thanks to Aurelia plus on guard's text. And that is 11. Still quite a bit to go. Again.
Another.
3 more.
Is that a punch
14.
first I also see in hand?
Punch first is +6, so that will be 20. That's getting closer, but you might need another one, and that isn't possible based on the power available. And perhaps we need to do the math again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if the power, I was going to say there's 2 body runes. So you could play the punch first, and then if the last card is maybe there's a discipline, you do have that 2 energy up. Does not look like that's the case.
Pretty sure I did the math wrong, by the way, because I just counted again. I think it might even be more than that. But we'll see. How big's Aurelia? I guess we'll keep on track. That's 4, 10, 16, +4, 20. I guess just picking up some units. You kind of have to do it one at a time. And I can tell you right now, you definitely don't want to kill the Mixologist if you can help it.
At some point, you do have to find a way to deal with the massive board presence that the other player has. When you have 2 Aurelias, maybe using one as kind of a sacrificial lamb of sorts does make sense, and that is the case. Wisely staying away from the Mixologist. You don't want to purposefully just give them more units back after you did all of that work, but a lot of cards committed to not conquering, but Staroson does have the advantage of being 2 points ahead still.
I think that play would feel a lot worse because that is so much. I mean, Captain is like, those recruits in those rallies, like the rally drew a card, the Captain made a bunch of extra units, like Matron revived another unit from your trash, like the trade on total cards definitely favors Zile, but without Baited Hook, without the engine that really drives this deck, feels tough to maybe make things happen here. And again, still behind on points, so does have to answer the bottom battlefield at some point.
This would be a great time for Zile to top deck a Darius because the bottom battlefield has 2 units on it, which uncharacteristically means Yi's legend ability is turned off. So a Darius would actually just be a 7 into that 6 and would require Staroson to have some other effect to stop that.
And you have to think Staroson used most of them dealing with most of the war camp. So we'll find out in a second. Zile's looking at the hand, and that looks suspiciously like a lot of mana. That's enough for a Draven.
It is a Draven. I got a little excited that maybe the top deck Darius did happen, but it is a Draven, followed by our Trifarian as well. And a little unfortunate for Zile just because not only would that have conquered the battlefield, got those much needed points, but it would have defeated the Akshan and got the Baited Hook back. And instead, we're just going to see a retreat from the war camp for now so that Zile can maneuver as necessary on the following turn.
Pretty interesting little situation here. So going to hold to 7 points, I believe.
No, it should be a hold.
6?
Yeah, should be a hold to 6, and if they conquer the war camp, they will go to 7. I think this is also why Zile pulled the units back, because knowing your opponent can't go to 8 here, but that you will have to be able to stop them. You want to have maximum mobility. So you stick everything in base, see where Staroson sets up, and then you try to go wherever the math is in your favor. Aurelia does go to the war camp. That takes him up to 7. I was going to say, I would expect one of these units to come back to reactivate Yi, and Akshan makes the most sense because you don't want to give up the hook.
And there's Triforce. Does... I mean, it gives some stats, which is always nice. Makes the Poro a bit bigger. Now it's going to be as big as Akshan would have been, chilling on that battlefield. And Lonely Poro draws a card when it's alone if it dies. So not bad, but I don't think Staroson expects to win by holding next turn. But I think you are at least forcing your opponent to do something here. And you're holding up 4 runes, which in Calm always feels pretty good.
Yeah, I think I like the setup from Staroson simply because you are forcing your opponent to go to both places. You are at 7. You just need to hold on 1 location. The extra point from the Trinity Force, not relevant, but at 7, any hold point is incredibly relevant. And dividing your might kind of evenly means that your opponent then also has to divide. But when you leave the runes up, they have to then factor that in. And so the puzzle then becomes for Zile, how much is the minimum might I can send to play around what I think they have? And we see the repeated thwonk, and that's going to shut down the biggest units on the side of Zile that are coming in.
That's even worse. It's shutting off the Mixologist as well, which was kind of a quote-unquote free unit to run in because you at least get a unit back. There is a Zin in the bin as well, which would have been ready when it came out of the trash. Instead, it's just going to be stunning up these 2 units. There won't be contributing anything else to the rest of this turn, and you still have to run units in to try and take out the Lonely Poro. Now, granted, you do know the coast is clear in the top battlefield at the War Camp, but you don't really have a lot of might left with this 6 might Poro is still holding down the fort.
Yeah, there is a situation where, again, potentially if Zile does have a Darius or some form of accelerate, you can get the job done simply because all of the energy on the side of Staroson has been used up. The runes are exhausted. You don't have to play around any more combat tricks. But of all the combat tricks to run into, that one was potentially the worst in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I do see a Zin in hand, but I do not see a Darius. So there's at least one unit that will be ready. As we're looking around, perhaps have a question for one of our friendly judges.
Yeah, so the Zin, if it enters ready, should at least prevent Staroson from winning this turn. Again, with no other options available, well, maybe I'm mathing wrong here.
Really? They're both 6s.
Yeah, they're both 6s because of the Yi ability. We've got 3 and 4, so the remaining might can deal with 1. The Zin still needs a +2 to get there, and I thought I saw it in the hand of Zile when he was kind of briefly maneuvering, but now I'm second-guessing myself. I think that was not the buff that I thought.
Yeah, I mean, just what we do know, right? 4 for the Matron, 3 total, 2 plus the buff for the Glory Seeker. That is 7. Zin is 4, which would only be 11. And we've already counted it's 12 between these 2 battlefields. And you do need to conquer both, or at least push the units off of them in order to not lose.
An even trade is still fine on both sides. So you just have to get to that situation. I think that they are running this back. A judge was called. I suspect what's happening is with the Thwonk, the 2 units are stunned. I think Zile wanted to know if Staroson was allowed to just put all of the damage on the Draven to avoid the Mixologist trigger, and that would still be allowed. And so the Draven would not die, but the Mixologist also does not die.
I don't actually know the answer to that question. My instinct is that
if there's no tank, you still get to choose where you assign it. It's just normally there's no incentive to not kill a unit.
So so one of the things that Riftbound though is that, well, you can't split damage in a
right, but you could just take your 6 and assign it all to the Draven, who's a 7. Draven doesn't die. Mixologist also doesn't die. They both go back.
I'm gonna say you're probably right, but that's interesting. I don't actually know the answer to that question.
Yeah, and again, we're just speculating. We don't know the actual judge calls for.
The judges are doing their job. We're doing our job, which is rampant speculation in the booth.
Completely uninformed guesses and misinformation, but I can only imagine because, again, with Thwonk stunning the units, they're not dealing combat damage, so the only real question is what kind of combat damage is being done. And I think, with the pointing there, Zile's saying, like, hey, aren't you supposed to kill this Mixologist? Are you sure you don't want to do the...
Yeah. And that's really interesting. I mean, I'm very curious to see what shakes out here. Also just genuinely curious to maybe chat with some of our judges after the day is done and get an understanding of this ruling, because it's a fascinating one. It's a big difference, right, whether or not the Mixologist is allowed to perish or not.
Yeah, because if the Mixologist goes away, as you pointed out, there is the Xin Zhao in the bin, and that with the one from hand would be enough to get over their threshold, but I think they arrived at the same conclusion that I did, which is the damage can just go to the Draven. You don't have to kill the Mixologist, and then Zile has no additional buff to get over the hump. So Staroson is going to go ahead and take game 1, and that Akshan might have come in clutch there. It's taken away that baited hook.
Yeah, taking away the hook, again, takes away the entire engine. Production did confirm for me. You were right about what the call was for. It was an appeal to the floor judge about assigning damage. And as we kind of seen after the judge call, yes, you are allowed to do that. You did assign your damage properly. And unfortunately, Draven, too big for you to take out. So, sorry, nothing I can do. Mixologist just goes back home. Nothing else to do. No way to crack those battlefields. You already did the might math for what we could see in Zile's hand. And unfortunately, the 12 might presented could not was not able to be traded or toppled. So we are going to go to game number 2. A fascinating first game here. Very excited to see what everyone has cooked up here for game number 2. Because this Darius list looks sweet.
Yeah, and if I'm being entirely honest, I think that the Darius player was doing what needed to be done and had a great line. You just kind of don't expect to run into main deck Akshans, let alone, again, we know there's 2 there.
Yeah.
But when you consider what you might have expected coming into this field post-Allele with the Azirs running around, again, Akshan could steal something in Aurelia matchups like a Guardian Angel. That could be incredibly relevant in those scenarios. There's so many kind of cool things for the Akshan, and at the end of the day, worst case scenario, you can just pay 4 for 4 might. You don't have to do the trigger. So the versatility here, I think, is paying off and in a big way.
Yeah, it's the nice thing about Akshan is that that power cost you pay is only an additional cost if you want to try and steal a gear. And obviously, if you steal a piece of equipment, you get to hook it onto the Akshan, which is kind of fun. So it is just kind of at base a unit that doesn't cost any power, that has a pretty decent rate on might, which is kind of the thing for a lot of body cards. They tend to be pretty well statted, as it turns out. And I guess if you ever run into the Yi matchup and they happen to be on Aurora, well, you have a lot of fun with your main deck action too.
Absolutely. And another thing we're highlighting here, why I think it's a good inclusion specifically in the Yi list, is that 4 for 4, decent stats, but not necessarily above rate. However, because Yi is offsetting that as well, and the fact that if you are playing it without paying for the power, you're not de-ramping. You're not going behind on your runes, so you can save those for the calms, for the counter spells. It really just plays into the inherent synergy and bonus that Yi has by just giving you free stats. So kind of generic units like that start to shine.
Yep, delighted that both these players are already made day 2, because these decks look pretty sweet. But I have to say, the one thing I really want is the game 3. I do want to see more between these 2 players. So we'll see if Darius can make it happen here in game 2, if it's going to be a clean sweep, as I can spy the battlefields with my literal eyes on the playmat. It is Vilemore's Lair and Seat of Power here for game 2.
Yeah, and this actually kind of works in favor of the Darius player. The Vilemore's Lair, when you're playing baited hook, is kind of irrelevant. You can go there, you can sacrifice the units to trigger your hook. In fact, a lot of hook lists also just choose to run Vilemore's Lair. Whereas on the other side, Seat of Power, for a list that is often looking to double conquer, that means more card draws potentially for Zile than Staroson. Not to say that this is a list that's incapable of double conquers. In fact, we saw them in game 1, but overall, when you're just kind of spamming units and flooding the board, you're more likely to have presence at both.
I like the idea of, like, you don't think I can leave Vilemore's Lair? I can leave anytime I want. Hook. Just get it out of there. As Zile is going to be going first, finds a seal. Finds a captain.
It's the dream opener. Seal into captain, which triggers the Legion.
Because of Darius. I was like, where did the 3rd energy come from? I was losing it.
So you play the seal, which triggers Legion. That allows you to activate Darius, which gives you the 3rd energy, which allows you to play the captain, which then turns into 5 might on turn 1 when you're going first. Now, the downside is, as you can see, you go down a rune, but you're also setting up for the future with that seal. So this is a great start, and we see the Fiora that we called out on the other side.
Also kind of like a Seat of Power big W here, because Captain made so many units that you're going to get to draw a card here as well. So Fiora going to be the play, a pretty sweet one if I'm honest. When I attack or defend one-on-one, double my might this combat. So pretty fun, you know, in the when I'm alone I get bigger thing. But unfortunately, I don't think Zile's units are going to be alone very often.
Yeah, Zile's deck is very well positioned to kind of turn off the Fiora value, because you can choose to just send in a recruit with something bigger. Again, the Yi passive will still likely trigger. Fiora is going to be alone most of the time, but Zile has a lot of options to turn that off.
It's kind of cool to see the different options, because again, kind of like Akshan in the main, like taking for a few things. Fiora in the main kind of feels like, you know what, I'm kind of scared of the mirror, because that feels like a really good card in the mirror.
Feels like a good card in the mirror. It can also be a really good card for making the hump harder to go over for Aurelia after they've established, right? A lot of times Aurelia, for that first attempt at a conquer, they can reasonably get to, you know, 6, 7, maybe 8, but the Fiora just sitting there by itself with no additional buffs can jump up to 8 easily, because it's going to double its own and then get the passive from Yi.
Is it 10? Or
It could actually be 10.
I don't know the answer to that question, but if I'm going to
Either way,
think
it gets
about
the job done.
it certainly does get the job done. 2 points already for Darius here. Zile is off to the races in a hurry. I think Darius is the only deck that can play Captain with the Legion effect on turn 1. I love doing it when going second. It was even better when Obelisk of Power was still around, Sag. But that's real nice, as that recruit is holding something down here. And Fiora, I feel like smells something fishy. It's like, I see 2 recruits. They are alone. That's typically very good for me, but I'm terrified. And we'll go here instead.
I think that the interesting decision here is that the recruit with the hidden card on the Vile Mausoleer might be trying to get the Fiora to strand themselves there. You could go in and it could be a hidden blade on your own recruit, but then the Fiora is just stuck at Vile's Mausoleer, and I think that Staroson rightfully sniffed that out and decided to go someplace where Fiora can still be relevant if needed. You don't want to go into a position where you're just giving your opponent free value. Now, the downside, though, is that Zile does get the hold point here, but in the future, Staroson can send that Lonely Poro to the other side, which is far more expendable. That's the kind of unit you want to be on Vile Mausoleer.
So you're telling me that there's more than one bit of bait in the baited hook deck?
Yeah.
Yeah, feels good. Fiora up to 4 in the top side. Does have Guardian Angel, so if she does perish, she will make it back to base. But I have to think Zile's doing a little bit of math here. Does have a Noxus Hopeful, Honest Broker, quite a lot of might available among these 3 units. And the recruit's still holding things down. Good for a 3rd point there to Staroson's 1. But we're tapping quite a few runes here. Tapping the table as well. And thinking about it again.
Yeah,
Put those back the other way.
I was going to say, all of the runes are exhausted on the side of Staroson, so this is really just a math check. If you send more than 1 unit, then the Fiora text is essentially invalidated, so the magic number is 6 or more to win this conquer. You could opt to just send 6 and then send a unit in after the fact if you're trying to protect a particular unit and you don't want the damage to be assigned in an unfavorable way, because you are just trying to trigger that Guardians anyway.
Yeah, I think the puzzle is, and I think the math does check out, by the way. I think the puzzle is running the Captain in, because there's a Spectral Matron in Zile's hand, running the Matron in, and then getting the Vanguard Captain back, but you still need to trigger the Legion, which does happen automatically from the Matron, but maybe you think you can get a bit more, because there's a Rally the Troops in hand as well. And Darius, again, can make 1 extra energy.
Yeah, and the Rally the Troops obviously is great for being that first card to get the Legion online and then make the spam. I think that the biggest issue is that if you want to send the Captain in and have the Captain die,
yeah, you kind of have to do it alone.
You will have to either be even or make it be the juicier target. And the issue is you have a 3 and a 2, or if you send in the Hopeful with it, then they're just going to get rid of the Hopeful in most cases. I guess we're about to find out now, because that's the play, but I would imagine that of the 2, you want to get rid of the Hopeful knowing what the other deck wants.
You didn't even think about it. Immediately pointed to the Hopeful. Of course, the Guardian Angel does shatter but protect the Fiora. Scoreboard there for Zile does get a point and picks up a draw thanks to Seat of Power, because of course the recruit is occupying the other battlefield. So getting a draw, finds a Draven Showboat, and that might just be good enough for this turn, and it is. Put that one down, recycle a red rune, and see you later.
I like this. You're kind of holding on to that Rally the Troops plus Matron play for when you can get maximum efficiency from it. Instead, you just play your big unit, make your opponent come into the Captain, which is over there, because again, that's kind of your whole plan. You need that Captain to go to the bin so that you can do your big might play, but of course we're going to see the Poro start on the other side, and as I had said before, likely the Hidden Blade for the recruit.
Not so hidden anymore. Also denies the Lonely Poro draw. Extremely powerful, and I can see a Defy in the top of the hand. Do I want to play this to deny you 2 cards? Yes, I do. That seems like a very good use of that spell.
Well, not only that, in this particular matchup, what are the other things that you're really saving Defy for?
Is it Rally the Troops?
It's Rally the Troops, right? There's not a lot of options. So when the options are presented, you kind of want to just play whack-a-mole anyway.
You know what's funny? I think both players are actually very happy with what just transpired. And I think we'll find out in a few turns which player is happiest with how this is going. Because Staroson is still playing catch-up as far as points go, all the way up to 3 now, as Fiora does take out the Captain in the Seat of Power. But we know there's a pretty big turn brewing on the Darius side.
Yeah, the Captain is now officially in the bin.
Right where you want it.
Yeah, right where you want it. So we could see that Rally the Troops into a Matron, into a Captain for just the explosion of might on the side of Zile. And Again, super relevant because of the Fiora on the board. That means that you can turn off her passive by just sending in multiple units, and we see the development of the Stellarcorn Herder and then the pass from Staroson.
Yeah, so Staroson putting the shields down a little bit here. You know, had a Discipline in hand, maybe some other interactive spells, deciding that I need to kind of advance my game, need to get myself a few more cards flowing, and has recycled a few runes, so going to be traded back now as first little recycle is happening. Zile is going to play Darius from the Chosen Champ Zone, and that one we know gets ready in a hurry. Legion already active, Noxus hopeful, trigger the Darius, gets ready, gets bigger, and feeling pretty good as Showboat is going to go ahead and smack the Lonely Paro in the face. Does draw a card at least.
Yeah, I like this game plan as opposed to just playing the big Might Explosion simply because you needed 2 units to turn off the Fiora attacks. There wasn't a lot of options here, so by going with this particular path, the Darius can come in with help, get the job done, and stick around. Also, we should be seeing, I believe, the draw from the Seat of Power as well. Unless he already did it. He might have already done it and I missed it. But
I think that already happened. But yes, do get a draw. I think Zile's actually drawn from Seat of Power every single turn of this game. Thanks to that turn 1 Vanguard. Okay, sorry, I guess not turn 1, fine. But every turn since the Vanguard Captain got played, which was on turn 1 on the play, I believe Zile has triggered Seat of Power every single time. And Stellarcorn Herder going to get a draw here, try and dig Staroson out of this pretty tricky situation. A charm off the top of the deck is pretty nice. But this Stellarcorn is maybe in a little one-way trip. It is currently 5 might to 3. See if we can't make that a little bit more even for that Shepherd. And Discipline is going to get the job done here if committed and will be put on the chain. Pumping that one up, drawing a card. And now it's 6 versus 5. Darius looking a little silly now at 5 might.
Yeah, and again, this is just a simple math equation because Zile has all of the runes exhausted, so no energy available, no way to get anything else going because there's no buffs on the board. Sometimes with these decks, you worry about cards like Call to Glory out of you know, the free 0 cost zone, if you will, but with no buffs present. Staroson knows that you can just go over the printed value with the Stellarcorn Herder. And now we're going to see the charm over.
It's a 9. This is a very big Darius, but the Yi is going to make it it's an even trade, I think. 6 plus 3 is 9. Yeah, that's a really nice play out of Staroson and getting back. I was going to say, like, it feels kind of bad, even though Discipline draws a card, to use that many pumps to just deal with the Darius, but feels much better when you can get extra value out of those pumps by also charming over another unit. And now, a situation that felt pretty tricky where your opponent holding 2 battlefields at 6 with 2 very big units, the board is clear and you are feeling like you're starting to play catch up very nicely.
Yeah, the real danger in this particular situation is that Staroson, in order to make those plays, had to exhaust all of the runes. So
keeps happening.
If Zile has a way to get a readied unit into play,
this turn's going to be sick.
A double conquer would seal it. So we see the Rally of the Troops possibly digging for like a Jin Zhao or something of that effect.
There's a hook in hand. This turn's going to be sick no matter what happens. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to win, but it is going to be cool. That much I can promise you all.
Yeah, we could also see a situation where you find something with the hook that enters ready. We're going to see the Darius activated with Legion because, again, Rally of the Troops was played. Matron.
That one get buffed. This one gets buffed. Just trying to make as much might as possible, it seems like. No hook necessary, which makes me personally quite sad. But I think Zile taking the line that maximizes his chances to conquer both battlefields, because that is all he has left to do to win this game.
Correct, and could just conquer one with the hopeful if they want to, but also I think the play pattern here, because you're trying to double conquer to win anyway, it might be, I was going to say that might be a consideration where you stay at 6 and go for the double conquer next turn, but by doing this and forcing them to have some sort of accelerate, I do think that is the right call. Zile wins game 2, and we're going to see game 3. My favorite thing.
I get my wish. We get game 3 here. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 4 runes at the end of the last turn. I guess there's 5 on the board. So could have, I suppose, gone to 7, played the Yi, and then taken out the unit. But you're just going to lose to all the 2 recruits at that point. So not a lot left there in that game. Very nicely navigated by Zile. An incredibly explosive opener with that Vanguard Captain, thanks to Darius' legend ability. And we're going to play yet another. Who do you like in this matchup from what we've seen so far?
It's kind of tough to say. I think that game 2 really went Zile's way with the opener because it's an explosive start, but also, if I'm being entirely honest, I think it favored Zile because of the battlefields. Like I said, Vilema is very often something that you see Darius players play just in general with their hook builds. And so the fact that they had that and then they were able to fully take advantage of that seed of power, I think really pushed things into Zile's favor. But now that we're going to game 3, Grove of the Godwillow, I would say more so favors Staroson, and Monastery is going to be kind of hit or miss. It's going to be dependent on whether you can find those buff generators. So this is one where I'm less confident that Zile has the battlefield advantage and also will be going second.
Yeah, Monastery of Harana in general is a really sweet one, a great draw engine. If you are good at activating Monastery, very few other decks in the metagame are. I mean, Set's the obvious one. That's the all-star as far as activating it goes. But obviously with Rally the Troops, which gets a lot of buffs, you can try and cash those in later for card flow, which can feel pretty good. I have played this in Leona. I will just say it right now. It's much tougher to get buffs in that deck. Darius, again, doesn't have access to that many effects, but probably just enough to get a few cards. And you don't need that many cards in this kind of deck, because you are just often trying to push a little bit further to close out the game. Because this, at the end of the day, it's playing a lot of sweet different things. It has all these cool interactions. It's just playing a lot of mine, trying to win relatively quickly.
Well, if you're also just trying to be patient with your card draws, right? Something like Rally the Troops into a Captain does generate 3 buffs.
Yep.
And so if you just send, you know, a recruit one turn, you cash in that one, or recruit the next turn, you cash in that one, right? You have the opportunities to kind of space it out. Doesn't have to be all in one go, but you have to find it, right? So that's the step 1 of the Harana equation.
I only caught the cards in Zile's hand, but I'm not going to get the rest. Ooh, unfortunately. I was trying to see if Noxus Hopeful was going to be playable on turn turn 1. For 2 energy, but I think Seal is the only way to do that because there's no 1.
No, you need a 2-drop because Zile's going second.
Oh, of course, Darius.
Room, so
you drew a 2-drop,
and you drew the 2-drop, and that then allows the Legion to trigger on the Darius Legend.
One day I'll remember what Darius Legend's ability is. It's so good. I mean, it feels maybe tough to trigger at times, but it turns out having an extra energy, just chilling in your Legend Zone. Chama, I don't know if you know this, that's quite powerful.
Yeah, that's why I'm so excited for Diana when we finally get her in Unleashed, because she has a similar effect, but for spells. However, here we're now going to see a Conquer on the Monastery of Harana. So Zile will score the first point.
Glory Seeker, another unit that does give itself buffs, by the way, but unfortunately had to be played first for the Hopeful's Legion effect, so not going to be able to draw a card here, but can't feel too bad about things, because kind of going second, you've actually managed to gain the tempo, which feels pretty good as Darius. Again, the deck, I think, in this matchup that does want to try and get ahead and stay ahead, whereas he's happier for things to go a little bit bigger as, oh my goodness. We talked about the Showboat coming out early. We're just doing it naturally, playing for 5.
Yeah, I love this, and I think that was also the Hidden Blade going down as well, saying, listen, I know you want this Grove of the Godwillow. There's no way you're getting here anytime soon. I'll give you the other location. You can send Akshan over there if you want, but you are not drawing cards off this Grove.
Yeah, we talk about how good card draw battlefields are, and there certainly are things that players have been looking for, especially with the banning of Dreaming Tree. Turns out sometimes the best card draw battlefield is your opponent's card draw battlefield. They just bring it for you.
Absolutely, and looking at the hand of Staroson there, I'm not seeing many answers. There is one charm, so you could conquer on the one side and then charm one of the units over, but the Draven is still... Actually, no, you could get rid of the Draven if you wanted to get rid of the bigger one, but the biggest issue is you can't get rid of both, right? So there's still going to be presence over there.
Considering the Hidden Blade that's kind of face up, even though it's face down. Don't know how many hidden cards are in Zile's deck, but can't be
like
too many.
this.
And yeah, just again taking the draw. Defy, no, none available or none used, and it doesn't look like there is one from a glance at Staroson's hand. So 2 cards going over, Grand Stratagem drawn, which is always an exciting one. And I think Zile rightfully thinking, there is no way you can stop me from holding, so I'm going to take the point, and I'm going to take the card draw that you very nicely donated me.
Yeah, so between the Hidden Blade and the Grove Trigger, that's 3 extra cards that Zile will have to work with for this turn. And on the other side, again, kind of looking at Staroson's hand, I noticed there were a couple of buff spells that looked like an On Guard and a Discipline. I also saw a Fiora. So given the kind of few options, Staroson just decided to develop this Irelia and pass, but this does give Zile another window to work with, because with all of the runes exhausted for Staroson, Zile can just do the math and go over top of the Akshan if the draws are there, but instead we're going to see Rally the Troops.
There's a Zin here as well, and there's also Baited Hook, but not really many attractive targets, and you also can't activate it at this point since using your rally. So it might just be Zile with an extra might with a buff.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because of the +2 from Yi, that is not, I think, going to be enough on its own.
It's also not ready because there's no other units surrounding Zin. Zin needs a couple of friends to enter ready as well. 2 to be exact in his location.
I think this rally might have actually just been a dig to find something better.
Little value rally. You'd love to see it sometimes. And yeah, thinking about moving the Hopeful back to base does do so. Oh, of course, you can activate Beta Hook because of Darius. Why do I forget every time? It's fine. It's just Honest Broker with a buff. And pass to you.
All right, so the Broker also has visited the gym. Did not skip leg day.
It's good. Don't know how they have the time with all that brokering happening, but good to see them prioritizing their themselves, getting that fitness, that physical health, that well-being all taken care of.
One of the things I love about Riftbound is they didn't even play around with the naming. They were like, this is just a buff.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to mince words here. Like, it's just a buff token. Though I will say for future sets, if you're listening, Riot,
I think
put the +1 might on the bottom so that when I put it with my equipment, I can just do the math that way. Having the buff stick out the top and the equipment out of the bottom, messing with my brain.
I think I could flip it over.
Yeah, but then it's on the other side. Then I'm driving in England on the wrong side of the road. All right, so back to the game here. We have the Aurelia going to the Grove, getting that Conquer and evening things up for Staroson. So up to 3 points apiece, and the Trinity Force coming down on Akshan.
Yep, that's 8 might, including the Yi Legend ability on defense, and an extra point if you manage to hold there. So all of a sudden, this race is looking quite a bit closer. That is one of the things that Trinity Force is quite good at, and of course we talk about it. I like the distribution as well. Aurelia kind of the more attractive target, not only because she's quite a powerful unit, but because she's hanging out at the Grove. So instead, Akshan going to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to try and make myself more valuable because I think I want the card draw quite a bit in that bottom battlefield. So I'm going to have to make quite a few decisions here. Does have enough might to win one of these combats. Actually, that's not true with the +2 on Akshan in at the Monastery right now, and can technically win a fight with Aurelia, although, as we do often see, Aurelia is a lot bigger than she appears.
Yeah,
there are runes open on the other side.
3 energy available on the side of Staroson, and again, we were able to see bits of the hand earlier. There should still be an on guard as well as a discipline there. So on that Aurelia could represent as much as +6 additional. These are the choices also buffing her.
Looking at Captain, this gives you the gives the option of hitting Matron and getting it back, and does give you access to most of your deck. There's the Matron.
There it is.
So happy to put 1 Captain in the bin and likely get her right back. Again, building up a pretty nice board of might, but to me this land says I'm not looking to contest your battlefield this turn, and indeed does pass it back.
I was just about to say, normally you're okay with making this particular play just because you're only giving up 2 points, but you're getting a lot of might on the board in return. However, because of the Trinity Force, it's 3 points, and that also means that Staroson goes to the all-important 6, which means a single Trinity Force hold wins the game. That is problematic. Zile is going to be forced into that side of the board as early as next turn. Would not surprise me if we actually see Staroson maybe play another unit into base and then just pass. I see the buffs in hand, but also sometimes you just want to feign having more than what you have, especially as a calm player.
Yeah, it feels like the best spot to put yourself in is to leave up your interaction, leave up your buffs, leave up your counters, whatever you have. Play 2 units if you can. Doesn't really matter what size they are. As long as you can play 2 units to threaten the double conquer on the backswing, then you have every threat you want, right? If Trinity Force goes away, you're still threatening a double hold for the win. If Trinity Force stays, you're threatening a single hold for the win. And if all the battlefields get cleared, right? And you know, in the worst case scenario, you can maybe just win by moving your other units in, assuming that Darius has to use most of his resources to clear all that stuff.
So the other reason that I was suggesting maybe even just 1 unit is we do also still have the Yi in the champion zone. So if you can just play something and leave a bunch of energy up, say, okay, come at me, bro, right? What do you got? Make them agonize over what you could possibly have. That could be good enough.
Certainly could be. So down comes Fiora.
All right, so the Fiora does enter play.
Seems like a pretty good backup unit to have, good reinforcement. It's quite forward in the base. It's kind of between two realms in the battlefields, but it's fine. We know what's going on there. Maybe just deciding where it's going.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting if it does actually reinforce and not go to the base. It was placed in a kind of central location, so I thought maybe that was going to be the case. Instead, it reinforces to Grove of the Godwillow, then Irelia moves back to the base. So again, still one unit in each spot, and we are going to see the Lonely Poro developed as well. So, and then I'm wrong.
Wow.
We're also going to see the Sea Monkey, so only going to leave one energy up. That is a lot of confidence in just the base might on the board.
And not only does it make the options much more limited, that's basically justify or on guard, right? That's the read you get. We know that there's another buff in Staroson's hand, so there were more options he could have left open here, but instead deciding that playing more threats, because you already know you're forcing your opponent to come into the battlefield, trying to play for the reconquer with your chosen champion as well, which does enter ready and have ganking. Both great qualities when you're trying to close out a game as Yi from 6 points.
So what this signals to Zile is that Staroson is, of course, playing for the Reconquer, saying, listen, I know that even if I leave my energy up, I don't have enough to actually defend if you shove everything. Zile is going to be forced into a shove everything situation because at a minimum, you have to make sure the Akshan is taken care of. You can't let the Trinity Force hold trigger. But if they're already going to do that, they might as well also take a shot at the Fiora. So Staroson says, okay, spread yourself thin, and then I will come back on the following turn.
Yeah, it's 18 might for Zile right now on in his base. I also do like, in general, just moving Aurelia back and putting Fiora there. I think Fiora is a much better defensive unit, and Aurelia is an incredible offensive unit, so that trade back definitely makes sense to me. Curious to see this line, but I think Staroson just saying, you know what, this feels good enough, and it may be true that leaving up 2 more runes or exhausting them here to play another unit feels like both paths might have just been enough, but we'll find out because Zile's got quite the puzzle to solve here.
Yeah, one of the things that is worth noting is if you know you're going to commit so many units to the board, then the Fiora swap makes a ton of sense because you're also not going to get the multiple triggers from playing multiple buffs like you would have on the Aurelia. So here we have a couple of units coming in, so the Fiora text is turned off, but does still get the +2 from the Master Yi legend ability. So it's going to be 5, and then of course we have the Hopeful representing 4 might and an additional 3 from the Honest Broker. The On Guard does come down.
Yeah, good math. That's actually just a trade. Really nicely calculated there by Zile. Knows that 7 is the number to beat there, because again, pretty face up with only run 1 rune open. Now we're going to move back to the other side. It is 6 for Akshan, as we've counted quite a few times.
It is 8, though, because of the Yi ability.
I can't count again, and I don't think Zile can either.
The same mistake appears to have been made from Zile based on the expression we just saw on the camera.
Oh, no. Not the moment you want to have. So much thought, so much counting, and you just forget that that Master Yi Legend ability is always there. Shaking the head.
Yeah, and this is the critical one, too, because of the 2, this was more important to make sure you took care of. The Trinity Force would still be enough to win the game with this hold.
That might just be it.
Yeah, Zile shaking his head. Not likely to have, like a cleave or something else in hand. We haven't seen them in the list. Of course, we don't know what the sideboard is, so on the off chance maybe they came in, but it's not a traditional sideboard card, so it's not what you would expect. But if anything, I would say that the expression, right? This is the story.
This is one of the great things about all sports, card games included. Sometimes glorious things happen, and sometimes tragedy strikes, and agony is all you have left on the table. One little recruit is all that was needed to tip the scales there. That's funny, because I did the math a few times, and I came to the same conclusion. And I can see significantly more cards than Zile can. And it's round 7, folks. I have to remind you, it is late in the day. Players have been playing since 10 a.m. It is 8:30 p.m. right now in Atlanta. Yes. TCG tournaments are grueling.
Yeah, they are very much a marathon. They are not a sprint. You have to be mentally aware for long periods.
Oh.
And this is, I think, why there was the dismay as opposed to just a concession, because there is an answer. It's just an expensive one, and it's very clearly, I think, one that Zile wanted to use on defense. Seeing the recruits still in the base, I think the plan was you make the trades and then you send the recruits to the locations and then you defend with stratagem. But unfortunately, being forced due to the miscalculation to use it on offense, this is going to put Zile in a perilous predicament.
And it's face up at this point, right?
Yeah.
There's 2 energy left, including the Darius legibility, which I miraculously did not forget. So we're going to have to pop the hook. Darius going to get exhausted. Hook is going to go sideways. Not yet. Again, I think when things like this happen, the most important thing is to just think through your plays. You made a mistake.
Yes.
How can you recover and get out of it? Because there's almost always a way to do something. And a recruit's going to get hooked here. Remember, it's massive, thanks to Grand Stratagem. So it's going to find anything in the deck. But what's left to hit here? Whoa, that's a good one. Ferris Forerunner.
Ferris Forerunner is a big hit. The only thing that I maybe question there, again, heat of the moment, but you know your opponent has to double conquer to win next turn anyway. The recruit on Grove of the God Willow doesn't really, in my opinion, represent anything meaningful.
Right.
I liked the idea of maybe hooking that and then whatever you get reinforcing on the other side, sending those other recruits over and just all-inning on one. Yep. I don't think forcing the split is a huge deal necessarily, but doesn't matter. This is still a pretty big hit, and I think now Zile is looking to reinforce this Forerunner on the other side, taking a moment to reconsider.
It's an interesting question, right? Because I can kind of see both ways. I think your line makes a lot of sense in terms of maximizing your hold on one battlefield, because that's kind of the situation you find yourself in. But just pure value-wise, a 1 might recruit is going to force at least 2 might worth of unit from Staroson's side. So, you know, on balance, it does feel like it's slightly better to leave the recruit there. But tough to say. I think, again, lots of tricky decisions to navigate through
this
game.
Lots of tricky decisions. And again, one of those things that you wouldn't even be in if Master Yi didn't have that text on it. So, yeah, we are going to see the Forerunner go to the other
Matron might
side.
be better.
I was going to say,
there
was a lot of deliberation. Forerunner obviously stickier. It has a bigger printed number, but this getting the captain, which will then trigger 2 more recruits because of the Legion as well, does represent more just raw might.
Yep, it is all of the captain, which is 5 on its own, and then the 4 from Matron. That is 9 versus the 6. And again, the mechs are great. You do not have time for mechs. They are going to be in the base where they cannot help you. And so the recruits move over. We actually left one at home as well.
Yeah, and again, this is a situation where Staroson just wins with a double conquer. So.
And at this point, you know, there's nothing left. They don't have another trick.
Right.
Not much that Darius can do with only 1 rune. It's not, you know, there's no on guards happening. No cheap pumps. All of the things have been expended.
Maybe this is where Zile has the 400 IQ from the sideboard single Hextech Ray.
That'd be pretty good. It'd be one of the few things you can actually play here. I was
trying to think of any potential out, and that's where I landed.
Well, it's 13 might, if I'm doing the math correctly. It's 410. Yep. Oh, sorry, 14. Math is tricky. And indeed, the Sea Monkey is going to do the first thing, which is get a card draw, kick the recruit out of the battlefield, and get Conquer #1. But to score the winning point in Riftbound, you must score both battlefields, whether by hold or by Conquer in the same turn.
Yeah, and now we're going to see Staroson take that Lonely Poro,
chipping away,
turn him sideways, make some trades so that we can cascade this Trinity Force onto different units.
That's a draw too. I actually love that play. Drew Discipline, by the way, as the card off the top. So it feels pretty good. There's still all the runes left available. Charm that one back home. I don't want to see that anywhere. It's only 6 might left here at the Monastery of Haran, and Aurelia is actually that big right now, equipping the Trinity Force. So just needs 1 more spell, and oh, I don't know. How many spells can Calm possibly have?
Well, at least 1 discipline, because we know that it was gained off of the draw from the Poro, but I see another one in hand.
That should be it, GG!
There's the handshake, and Zile, I just want to say my heart goes out to you because I know how heartbreaking it can be, but well played for the most part by most players, and they are still locked for day 2. That is the takeaway.
That is the silver lining. I mean, it's happened to the rest of us. It's happened to me, and certainly usually happens at a Nexus night. Not as good when it happens at an RQ, but again, day 2 is already secured. 6-1, still a very impressive record with a round to play here. Shake it off. Keep your X1 record and keep the train rolling. And Master Yi seems to be doing an awful lot of winning on the feature match area, I may add. A deck that we did expect to see quite a bit of. There was an uptick from Lille to Atlanta in representation. And we've seen 2 feature matches, and we've seen 2 different Yis remain undefeated.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how the meta continues to evolve, right? Because after the changes, right, after the bans, we all thought, okay, maybe Draven's on the downturn, but Draven's still having really good conversion rates. We thought maybe Aurelia was going to be the new queen. Obviously, Aurelia, the champion unit, still performing very well because that's also played in these E lists. But overall, when I was walking the tables earlier, there's still some very well-performing Aurelias in the room. But we are seeing the rise of Master Yi once again. It turns out just having raw numbers, good stats, is good in this game.
It is, and I think the Trinity Force, big upgrade to this deck from Origins, lets you kind of catch up, which is something that this deck often struggles to do. In fact, it kind of does both. Lets you catch up if you're behind, but also just gets you further ahead if you're ahead. So pretty good card as all things considered, and lots of different configurations of this list as well. We've seen no Trinity Forces more punch firsts in our last match. We've now seen main deck Fiora and main deck Akshan in this list. There is a lot of different ways you can build this deck, which for a deck that I think most people would say is fairly straightforward, fairly simple, well, there's maybe more play than you think to this kind of thing.
Yeah, I will say that this particular version is one that I like at an event like this, where you know it's going to be a very wide spread across the room. You got 1,600 plus players in the room. But also, with the best of prizing, sometimes you have to expect the unexpected. You don't know what your pairings will be. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to see Aurelia and Draven all day, because you might run into the one set that's trying to chase the best of, or whatever the case may be. So having a bit of a wider strategy, this particular list, Staroson was running a lot of 2-ofs, so it was just frequent enough that I'm likely to see them in the games I need them, but not so frequently that they'll be dead draws all the time, and it paid off here. The Fiora, not so good in this matchup, but the Akshan did show up when it was needed and took that baited hook in game 1 and kind of sealed things.
Well, good to know that at least one playset of baited hooks is going to be making day number 2, but Master Yi seems to be doing all the winning here in this feature match, which I guess begs the question, what beats Master Yi?
Well, if set 1 was an indication, it was Kai'Sa.
Well, we did see that matchup. And
right, we did see that matchup. Didn't necessarily go that way. But yeah, I would say something like that, or potentially Victor. I know that there is a Victor that was still undefeated as of last round because they were on the broadcast. You want anything where your removal either just doesn't care about the might or takes advantage of doing it outside of combat before the defensive buff goes on, right? You want to deny the additional value of the Yi legend itself. So decks that can take advantage of that are going to be well positioned. Other decks that might do well would be decks like Aurelia, where you can use cards like Charm to force things off of the sites, or to force combats that they don't want in certain situations. So there's still a lot of, I think, ways to play around it, but it's one of those things where I think it's still kind of catching people by surprise. We saw it do well in Lille. You kind of expect it to maybe do well here, but the numbers jump from that event to this one was much bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Well, I do love hearing Charmer's thoughts on Yi, genuinely, but I'd love to hear from the winner themselves. Let's go down to an interview.
Thank you very much, Pastry. I have Staroson, aka Cody, here. Congratulations on your win. Now 7-0. How you feeling? Is the energy still with you?
Yeah, feeling good. Feeling good. 1 round left. I'm gonna go eat after this, but yeah.
Oh, after this interview?
Oh, after this last round.
After this last round. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say you gotta stay hungry for the last round. You could go undefeated on day 1. Was this how you were expecting day 1 to go?
That's how I was hoping it to go. 1 round at a time. I come from a lot of Magic tournaments and stuff, so I've had some deep runs in the past in Magic, but it's nice to get it in Riftbound, get it going.
Have you been to any of the other regionals for Riftbound?
I haven't been able to yet. I wasn't able to get tickets or wasn't able to travel, so yeah.
Okay, well, happy to have you. Welcome to the community.
Yeah.
I'm sure already people are going to be turning heads, or you're turning heads. I want to talk about the deck that you chose to bring, because Master Yi, it's not one of the most popular, but it's on people's radars. What made you gravitate towards it, and how do you feel like your matchups are against the field right now?
Yeah, so this was kind of a last-minute pivot. I was going to play Kai'Sa up until like last week.
I like Kai'Sa. Oh, come on. Now I'm not on your side anymore. You lost me.
Yeah, so I really feel like the strategy of the deck kind of meets my play style. I like to play it as like a tempo deck where you're getting that 2 might every defense from Master Yi. If you think about like Discipline is 2 energy for 2 might, so you're getting like free energy every turn that you use that. And then I found an interaction. Someone posted it on Twitter with Fiora Peerless and Master Yi, and I'm like, all right, I can't pass this up.
Yeah, I noticed that. You had a couple of cool options, but you were also talking about the defensive style, getting the +2. There was that one moment in Game 3, your opponent swings in. We couldn't quite hear what was going on the table. What was being said there?
Yeah, that's rough. Like I feel bad winning like that, but it happens. It's a long day.
Stamina's important, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously he had the might on board to be able to take that battlefield. And then hold up Grand Stratagem next turn, so I'd have to do the math and see if I could have worked through that. But yeah, just unfortunate. Forgot the Master Yi trigger is.
It's real. I mean, it's a long day.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been to Magic tournaments, you said, so you probably know what that's like. But
100%.
Your brain just turns to mush, and mine's already turned into mush. I'm not even playing today, so I can only imagine what it's like for you. But I want to talk about the deck even deeper, because Game 1, you had some cool options in there. Akshan in the main deck. We've seen the Gear Hate in the main deck is very pivotal.
Yeah.
How much work has that done for you so far today?
It's been really good. That was also kind of a last-minute addition. The 4 might and then 6 might breakpoints I found are just like really important. Having an extra turn 2 play that just comes down for 4, and like a lot of times, especially with a pump spell, can go in and conquer and then just hold and sit there for like at 6.
Yeah, you did that Game 3, right? You just played him on the ramp.
Yeah, honestly, I found like a lot of the time in Game 1, I'm just playing him, for fun. I've stolen a baited hook twice, which I can't do anything with, but neither can they, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been solid. I like just having another 4-might unit in there to kind of play out on curve, and the Gear Hate's a bonus in Game 1, but
I noticed in Game 1, you played the Akshan to the battlefield to steal the baited hook. Was that intentional? Because usually I think you want to put it to base so it doesn't die, they don't get the baited hook back. So what was your thought process?
Yeah, so I wasn't too worried about the baited hook at that point. Like, if he got it back, it is fine.
Okay. I guess it's still exhausted if he gets it back.
Yeah, at that point, that may have been a misplay. I'll have to go back and watch and think about it some more.
Well, I'm going to analyze it after this, so I won't go too hard on it.
we can both go back. At that point, I wanted two units on there. I didn't have any tricks to hold up, and so I was just trying to get some extra might on the battlefield.
I mean, it worked. It worked, right?
Like,
you were able to get the baited hook, you held it, and you won that Game 1. You won the series, so congratulations.
Yeah,
I like to give interviewers or interviewees chance to give me shout-outs. Do you have anybody back home that might be watching, or anybody here in the venue you want to shout out?
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to whoever I saw on Twitter that posted about the Fiora interaction. Thanks for that. Hi to everyone at home. I know nobody's actually watching this, but I'm gonna make you go back and watch this part of the VOD.
Clip it and send it to them. Make them feel bad.
Yep.
There we go. All right, you have my approval. Thank you so much,
Appreciate
Cody.
it, man. Thank you.
Casters.